Hello everyone, and today I wanted to talk to you about learner drivers on motorways. Now, those of you who regularly follow my videos will have seen me talk about this on many occasions, about standards of driving on the motorway, how dreadful it is. And in one of my recent videos I was talking about why learners weren't allowed to go on the motorway. And guess what? In June 2018 the law was changed and learner drivers are now allowed to go on motorways, but with some exceptions. So first things first, you can't just chuck a set of L plates onto your vehicle and get yourself onto the motorway. No, only learner drivers in cars are allowed on the motorway, and only then if they're with a proper qualified ADI driving instructor, and also in a car which has got dual foot controls. So very specific circumstances where a learner driver is allowed on the motorway. Now you'd think I'd be jumping up and down for joy saying, well, hey, this is the greatest thing that's happened, because I've been calling for it, and it's always seemed like madness to me that learners aren't allowed on the motorway. However, as with always these things, the government has kind of, I don't know, how would you describe it? Well, fudged it, I suppose, as most governments tend to fudge most things. So they've clearly been swayed by the fact that, yeah, it'd be really good for people to get experience of motorways when they're learning, but they haven't made it a mandatory requirement, which I can understand, because there are parts of the UK where there aren't motorways for miles and miles and miles, and make things really difficult. But then they've been nobbled by the bloody safety lobby, and all the various people who kind of, oh no, the ones that say your children can't play conkers anymore in the playground, that actually we should wrap everyone up in cotton wool, and accidents, we can avoid every single accident. No, they're called accidents for a reason, because they happen by accident. They're unforeseen. You can't change that. It's a bit like road safety charities saying, oh, our aim is to reduce collisions on the road to 0%. Well, it just ain't going to happen. Yes, you can reduce them to a very low level, but there'll always be some collisions. So you think I'll be jumping up and down for joy, but I'm not, because this fudge, I just don't see what it gains. So if I'm a learner driver, I can go on the motorway, but I have to take my qualified driving instructor, and it's got to be in his car or in a car with dual controls, I suppose, so that he can jump onto the brakes if need be. But do you know what? I think that kind of misses the point. Yes, I know I don't have the statistics to hand, and I would imagine that one of the major causes of collisions on the motorway are not braking hard enough when traffic comes to a stop. But actually that's mainly because people follow too closely to the car in front. So it will do that. It will allow the instructor to jump on the brakes and do that. But actually motorway driving is so much more than that. Motorway driving is all about observation and forward planning. It's about training the brain to look even further down the road, to see things happening up in the distance so you can react, because obviously you're travelling at generally higher speeds on the motorway. But actually what the whole thing with dual controls doesn't address is people changing lanes without looking into all that sort of stuff. And so I don't see why any learner driver shouldn't be allowed to go on the motorway. I can get the whole thing of with a qualified instructor, someone who knows what they're doing. I can live with that compromise, but it should be any instructor. Actually, if you've got a car that you're learning to drive in, that you're getting used to, your own car, surely it makes sense to go on a motorway in a car that you're comfortable with, that you like, not some stranger's car. Get used to it in that way. likewise with the high speed thing. I mean, as a learner, you can go onto a 70-mile-an-hour dual carriageway A road. Well, that's the same as being on a motorway. It's multi-lane. I mean, you've got some dual carriageways which are 3 lanes even on A roads. So you kind of get that same thing. It's just hasn't got motorway regulations. It's covered by A road regulations. So I think there are enough examples where you are to all extents driving on the motorway just without the motorway regulations and the blue signs. So I don't see why all learner drivers aren't allowed. The other thing that completely astonishes me is why this has just been for car drivers, for drivers on 4 wheels. Why aren't learner motorcyclists allowed on the motorway? Now this is where I do get the whole instructor business. I'm not saying for one moment that you should be able to go and do your CBT, hop on a 125, which might struggle to get to hold 70 miles an hour, and probably hold 60. And the day you got your CBT, jump straight onto the motorway by yourself, just with L plates on. No, I'm not calling for that. But if you're particularly doing direct access on a bigger machine, I mean, certainly when I was doing my DAS test, I was on a 615 machine, which would easily do motorway speeds. And when I was out with L plates on that, I had to be with an instructor, and I was in radio communications with him. So if those are the laws for generally learner riding on more powerful bikes, why not have the same for going on the motorway? To have the instructor sat behind you, giving you instruction and advice over the road. Oh my god, I think that would be wonderful for a learner motorcyclist to be able to do, to give them that experience in a controlled environment. But for some reason the powers that be have said, no, only those on 4 wheels with a qualified instructor in a car that's got dual controls. As most of you will know, being able to stop in an emergency situation is imperative for driving or riding. But that's not always the way to avoid a collision or an incident. Sometimes it's, I'm not emergency braking here, I'm avoiding stuff, collision avoidance. Sometimes it's, I've planned and I can see far enough that's going up on ahead that I can take appropriate action. More often than not, it's a combination of all of those things. So I suppose the key question is it going to improve the standard of driving on our roads? Well, time will tell. From that perspective, it can only be a good thing that some learner drivers are getting experience on the motorway. And I hope, please, any ADI qualified driving instructors out there, please teach learners about the use of multi-lane roads properly, i.e. keep left at all times and less overtaking. Let's get rid of this middle lane hogging business, or just sitting in lane 3, or on 4-lane roads, sitting in lanes 3 and 4, and 1, 2 people sometimes go to, but one's empty. I mean, come on, let's get this into people. So if only a handful of learner drivers get that drummed into them and improve their driving because of it, then it's got to be a good thing. But I do think this is a real missed opportunity, unfortunately. So there you go, there's my thoughts on learners on motorways. As ever, if you've got any views, if you agree, or especially if you disagree with me, please do shove your comments in the box below. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Ride safe out there, keep it rubber side down, and I shall speak to you very soon. Cheers!